Rev up your engines! Okay, what's that flying behind me? It's a Tesla Model X Gullwing. Now, of course, the company didn't give me one because they don't like me, but it's all for a charity. I'm making a video, so you don't have to worry. I actually have one now, and they can't take it away because they didn't have anything to do with it. Now, even a used one of these goes for 93 grand. Some of the new ones, well over $130,000. And yes, it has the Gullwing rear doors, not the front ones, just the rear ones. And just to prove it's real, look. The gulls have decided to evacuate themselves on the back of the window, so it kind of fits right in the back end. Now, this is an older one. This one's 2019. So it goes 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, which of course is insanely fast. But the newer ones do it in 1.9 seconds. You'll see how fast it is later, but they are extremely fast vehicles. There's no arguing that. Now, personally, I find it to be just a bland, ugly-looking car unless the wings are up. If I was driving it, I'd want the wings up in the air so it'd look cool. Now, when you look inside with the windows open and the doors up in the air, hey, it is cool and wide open, I gotta say. And there, look, it's telling you. There it is. You can't drive. You gotta close it before it'll start. Me, I'd rather be driving around like this. Looks like some kind of fancy Star Wars outfit or a Batmobile in the 21st century, but you can't do that. You can only look at it this way. Oh, what a shame. Down it comes. Well, that certainly made a funky noise. Let's check the other one. Hey, that made that little cow noise too. Oh, there's no door handle, so to get out, you gotta push the button again. But help, the button isn't working. So much for electric doors. I'm trapped, help. We're in here, I gotta say. This front window is humongous. You really get a good view. Warning, warning, finally, the door's starting to open. It's sticking. Well, it finally decided it's gonna open itself. Quick, get me out of here. This thing's trying to eat me. Okay, so it's got some kind of safety feature. I understand. I want it with the wings open driving because it would look cool. Well, it's not safe, so it won't open. I want a door handle to get out. I don't want to push some button that doesn't do anything or opens a little and then stops and starts honking at me. Now, realize one thing about these cars. They make them aerodynamic so they go further, so they're relatively low to the ground. You're not going to be flying over speed bumps on these babies. You can see this thing scraped a whole bunch of times already. Now, this is all-wheel drive. It's got two motors, one to drive the front, one to drive the back. They're an interesting design, there's no arguing that. You're not gonna really get stuck, but of course, on the other hand, you can't take this thing off-road. It's too low. Plus, the battery's way down the bottom, keeps the center of gravity low, makes the ride a bit rough, as you'll see when we take it for a ride. But it makes it handle quite well. These things are really fun to drive. Actually, they're a little bit too much fun to drive with the horsepower that they have. Now, of course, this has got that Tesla autonomous driving thing that they've been going back and forth on. Do you pay extra for it? Do you not pay extra for it? Does it actually work? You've seen some of the cars have actually run into things. I personally would never trust anything like that. Now, sure, the average driver doesn't know what they're doing. And if machines drove us instead, there would certainly be less accidents today. All it takes is a handful of accidents, and the lawyers are going to come out of the woodwork and sue everybody involved in it. That's just a fact. And if you've ever done any type of analysis of car drivers, any real scientist can tell you one thing. You cannot combine self-driving cars with human being driving cars on the same road. If everybody has an autonomous car, yeah. That's what the 5G was made for. They can all talk to each other. Realize 5G has a relatively short range, right? But it's still at least a quarter of a mile, half a mile. Cars only need to know what all the cars within the next quarter, half a mile are doing, and it's fine. But you put some human in between driving a car, the machine has no idea what those people are going to do. And of course, everybody's not going to go out and buy $100-something car right away either. So there's going to be a ton of cars out there that are dumb cars that are completely driven by people, and you can't mix the two because the people confuse the machines and then wham, out they go. So if you're thinking about getting something because it's going to drive itself, you'll be waiting a long time before that is actual truth. They can help. They can drive themselves in certain situations, but you shouldn't be in the back seat going on Facebook while the car's driving itself. It can't handle unforeseen circumstances all that well. It's a computer. It gets confused. Because when you think about it, computers are binary logic. They can only do 0 and 1. Hey, I can do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can do all kinds of things, right? But a machine can only do 0 and 1. And once it goes on the wrong 0 or the wrong 1, it goes on the wrong track. And that's why you turn machines off that are electronically controlled. And when you turn them on, they might work again. Well, not such a great idea if you're going 80 miles an hour. You can't just all going to turn it off now and turn it on again. No. Self-driving cars, people talk about the future is going to be self-driving cars. Yeah, when they're all self-driving cars on their own roads with no humans interacting. If they can talk to each other, great, but who's going to buy all that stuff? Same thing with electric cars. Who's going to make the electricity? It's bad enough there's no place to charge them. If they built 5 million charging stations, where's that electricity going to come through? Hey, there's a charger here at my house here. The previous guy had one. And it works. If you go far enough that you can make it there and back and charge it at home, yeah, you can do it at home. And these have a pretty decent range to them. This particular one's rated at 295, and I've had people drive them and go 290 miles, and they made it to a charger. They do have decent range. Realize, this is a car. This isn't a pickup truck. You're not pulling a trailer, pickup bed that you're putting tons of gravel in. It's only pulling itself. It's geared so that on a highway, it can go quite a distance. It's got 2 motors after all. You're not just dependent on one. They keep spinning faster and faster and faster, and they can do efficient in town and on the highway because they got a 2 setup. Let's take it for a spin. The weird doors that you touch to get in. Of course, it doesn't make any noise, and we'll roll the windows up so it's even quieter. Great navigation map, of course. Look, reverse. Now it's in reverse. We're going backwards. It's got cameras all over the place. And then when you're on forward, pull down to drive. It's that simple. There's definitely no gear shifting in this. Now we'll take it on a bumpy Rhode Island road here. As we hit the bumps, you feel them. It's not a luxury ride. Now it's supposed to take off fast with instant torque, so let's see what happens when we step on the gas. It takes off fast, but we can't go for long. We'll hit everybody. And I do have to say, with this giant front window, man, you can see all over the place. I feel like I'm in some kind of spaceship. And of course it has regenerative braking, so when you take your foot off the brake, it starts slowing down by itself and regenerates power. You gotta get used to that, because if you let go of the gas, the car will come to a complete stop. It's something that you really have to get used to. I mean, I'm not even touching the brakes, and the thing's coming to a stop. But of course, it's the acceleration that makes this thing insane. You step on the gas, away it goes, just like a rocket ship. It has insane acceleration. This little thing on the bottom there tells you what your range is. It says you can go 176 miles more. Well, I do have to say, really, for gull-wing cars, this is the neatest one I've ever been in. People are nuts about gull-wing doors. They always keep their value. So it really wouldn't matter what happens with Tesla. People just like gull-wing doors. You look at a Mercedes gull-wing door, they're worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, I gotta say, I am impressed by the gull-wing doors, by the speed, by the gigantic windshield. Yes, it's a fascinating car. But on the other hand, a used one of these is going for $93,000. The new ones are well over that, and it is an electric car that you have to recharge as you drive it around. Granted, it does have a pretty good range. All that money, to me, I don't know if you're going to break even. You saw, it's a rough riding on bumps. It's smooth and handles great on smooth roads. But the battery alone weighs 1,377 pounds, and being under here, you have a lot of weight low. It just doesn't handle bumps all that well. Now, I've driven the Audi electric car, and it handles much better because, of course, it's a car company that made luxury cars. I'm not a fan of Audi either, but they are fun to drive. They're not fun to fix, but they're fun to drive. But their electric car was designed by a company that made luxury cars. Then they decided to make a luxury electric car. Tesla, on the other hand, decided to make electric cars. They didn't have any real experience in luxury suspensions and all this stuff. And a lot of the stuff's kind of added on that, yeah, they are super fast. There's no arguing that. But for somebody who wants a really luxurious ride, they leave quite a bit to be desired for a true driving connoisseur. If you don't believe me, road test one of these and road test an Audi, and I guarantee you, you'll find the Audi is a much better handling and riding cars over bumps. It's a superior machine when it comes to that. Now, personally, I'd buy neither because it costs too much money. If I get one of these, it's exactly what this says. I rent one. You can see for all the money these cars cost, here's the one side of the door. That's a little worn, and that isn't. But this side, the paint's all worn off of it. And the gap here, look at the paint. The paint's wavery. Not the greatest paint job in the world. A little better here, but you can still see there's a bunch of lump of overspray when they painted. Check it out. The gap's here little, then the gap gets big. Here the gap's big the whole way. One side doesn't even match the other. Let me tell you one thing. If you looked at an Audi electric car, it matches perfectly. It's a luxury car. It's made by people who've been making them a long time. I'm not a fan because they cost too much. They cost a fortune to fix. But when these things break, they cost a fortune to fix too. Hardly anybody works on them. You're waiting months for parts. I've had customers with them sometimes 3-4 months, no car. Oh, we're waiting on parts, they say. The guy builds cars and he wants to build as many as he can to sell them. Does he build spare parts? No. If something happens, you can't get spare parts for it. He doesn't care. And there's very little aftermarket for these things. You know, you're pretty much stuck. I personally can't do much heavy duty work on him because he doesn't share repair information. I've got all data that does almost every car in the world. Doesn't do Teslas. He won't pass the information on. You're going to be stuck with them fixing it when they do break down. Realize that. Audi dealers are bad enough with what they charge, but at least they have parts for their cars. So, here we have the gull-winged Model X. I like it with the gull wings up, not so much with them down. It is extremely fast. There's no arguing that. If you are a speed demon, you'd love a car like this, but then you'd probably get so many tickets, you'd say, I wish I never bought that car. It's costing me too much money. And realize one other thing. Every single Tesla ever made has been recalled at least once. They lead the world in recalls because of poor quality of manufacturing. That says to me, hey, I'm not buying one. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.